In today's video, we're going to talk about Bitcoin, Ethereum, Link, Dot, Matic, and VeChain. We do have some strength showing up in the crypto market, so that's nice to see because we have had a long spell of just kind of downward to sideways momentum. So we're going to talk about what markets have to do to continue this breakout. We're also going to talk about some support levels just in case we do get a pullback. Okay, now the first market I want to talk about is the DXY, the US dollar index. And this isn't a crypto, however, it does impact the crypto market because essentially as long as the DXY is strong, which it has been here over the past few weeks, it's an indication that money is flowing out of risk assets like stocks and cryptos and flowing into the US dollar, which is a safe haven because it's still the world's reserve currency. So with that in mind, we do want to see this market start to rotate lower in order to alleviate some of that pressure from the crypto market. So the first step to this is going to be a daily close below this trend line right here, which is currently serving as support. Now that level comes in right around 96. And so far it's been really stubborn. This market has not wanted to close below this level, but we do need to see a daily close below this area in order for the DXY to rotate lower. So it doesn't have to happen today. It doesn't have to happen tomorrow, but sometime this month, it would be nice to finally see it break down from this and head lower toward the bottom of this trend line down here, right around the 95 handle. Now, what we don't want to see is this market close above this area up here around 97. So that's going to be resistance. And if we did see that, then there is a chance we see the DXY move up toward that 2011 trend line up around 98 to 99. But essentially, we do want to see this market pull back, close below 96, this trend line here, and then rotate lower down here toward the 95 area to, as I said, alleviate some of that pressure that we've seen on the crypto market. So next up we have Bitcoin, and this market is still just kind of sideways here. We did get some strength yesterday. However, today is kind of just a consolidation day. Market's pulling back a little bit. It's holding above the April trend line. So this currently is the support level to keep an eye on. But as I said, really all in all, still a very sideways market. Now, Bitcoin does need to close above this area right around $50,000. So this area through here, we would need to see a daily close above that in order to expose 53 to 54,000. Now, 53 to 54,000 is the big test for buyers. That is even more significant than 50,000 just because, we saw Bitcoin close above this area back here during this rally. However, we've since seen the market close back below it with that December 4th liquidation event. So we would need to see Bitcoin get back above 50 and also 53 to 54,000 on a daily closing basis to flip that back to support. So if it could do that, then we could see a move up here towards 60 and potentially even back towards $70,000. However, I am not ruling out a move down here toward 40 to 42 to fill in the wick from December 4th. So I mentioned in a video a couple of days ago that throughout 2021, Bitcoin has never had a liquidation event like it had on December 4th and not filled that wick. Meaning that, if you look back here, so this wick right here, this was a liquidation candle and we saw Bitcoin kind of turn sideways for a bit, but then it came down and filled that wick and actually closed below it before finally moving higher again. So I'm not ruling something out similar where we get a move down here and, clear this level down here, maybe test 40,000 or so, and then in January start to move higher. Now, again, the alternative to that would be a close above 50,000 and also that $53,000 to $54,000 area. Okay, if we do that, if we see Bitcoin close above that area, then 60,000 would be next. So, but right now, as long as Bitcoin is below this $50,000 area and above 45,000, this is very much a sideways market. So next up is Ethereum, and the market is still holding above this area down here around 3,600. So this is going to be the key support area. You can see we have this trend line off of the May high back here. And so far the market is just consolidating. It's been very, very choppy, but it is still holding above this region. Okay, so as long as it's above that, the uptrend is still intact and this consolidation looks relatively healthy. We would not want to see the market close below this area down here, essentially the bottom of what could be a falling wedge pattern. Okay, now alternatively, you can see where Ethereum is currently testing the top of that wedge pattern right around $4,000, maybe just above it. So a close above that could take us up here towards some of these recent highs, but ultimately Ethereum is going to have to close above this area up around $4,500 to really turn constructive again, because like a lot of other markets, we've just seen a series of lower highs over the last few weeks. So we would need to see that first higher high in order for Ethereum to really take off and get going again. So until that time, like Bitcoin, it's very much a sideways market between this area up here around $4,000 and then support coming in right around $3,600. And next is Link, which we have on the weekly time frame. You can see where we have this multi-year ascending channel where, I mentioned the other day that I did think it was possible to get a retest of this channel down here somewhere between $14 and $15. And we may still get it because it's still early, and honestly, Bitcoin could still rotate lower and test that $42,000 area. And if it does that, then we could very well see Link move lower toward $15. So, it's still, the jury's out on whether we get a retest of that channel support. But looking in the near term, if we look at the daily time frame, here's kind of what I would be watching for from Link. So obviously we have the big liquidation event back here on December 4th, but Link would have to get above this area right around 2040 on a daily closing basis in order to turn higher. So a daily close above this flips it back to support, and we'd then be looking at $23. So 23 would be the next test for buyers. Above that is $26.50. Okay, so those are the key levels I'd be keeping an eye on here in the short term. Now, alternatively, if we get a rotation lower, this area down around $17 is going to be support. And anything below that, okay, we're then probably looking at a retest of that multi-year channel bottom somewhere around $14 to $15. So I'm keeping an open mind here like a lot of other markets, just because even though markets are turning higher in the last 48 hours, it's still very, very sideways. Okay, and until these markets start to carve higher highs and higher lows, you have to be very cautious and also at least plan for a rotation lower just in case. Now, the next market I want to talk about is Matic. Okay, so I mentioned this earlier today where, the bottom line is that the market right now is testing the all-time high around $2.70. And I know a lot of people are getting very bullish on it, and rightfully so, because, ultimately anytime a market is testing its all-time high and also carving higher highs and higher lows like this, it is technically a bullish structure to the market. But at the same time, you have to understand that 270 is a confluence of resistance, and therefore it's going to be a very strong level in that Matic needs to get above it on a daily closing basis to flip that area to support. Now, as I mentioned earlier today too, one thing a lot of people struggle with is once a market breaks out into price discovery. So anything up here is technically price discovery for Matic. Now, once a market breaks out like this, it's very difficult to determine a profit target because there are no clear resistance levels. So in this case, what you can do is instead of drawing this down here as a trend line, why not draw it as a channel? All right, so you drag the parallel channel tool from these lows down here. All right, so, same concept as the trend line, and you connect it with this swing high back here. Okay, so now we're including this high right up here. And when we do that, you can see that if Matic were to clear 270 on a daily closing basis, so get up here, flip this area to support, then there's a good chance we could see Matic trend higher up between, maybe $4, $4.50 over the next few weeks or months. So that's what I would target for this market. As for support, this cluster of price action back here, just above $2 is going to be support. And the must hold level for buyers is this low down here, right around $1.70. We would not want to see the market start to take out this trend line and also carve lower lows, because the reason that this idea works, this break above 270, is because the market has been carving higher highs and higher lows over the past few months. So we want to see that continue. We don't want to see Matic drop below 170. But again, it's going to take a close above 270 in order to target that $4 to $4.50 area. So next up we have DOT or Polkadot. And I mentioned this one a couple days ago as well, So you can see here on the daily time frame, if we move out, there's a confluence of support that I'm keeping an eye on, as a just in case that we did see Bitcoin rotate lower, test that $40,000 to $42,000 area, then there is a chance that we could see DOT move lower into $20. Now, you can see back here, we have this trend line off of these lows, connects with the July low, and we also have a horizontal area right here through $20. Okay, so if we got that move down here, this is a confluence of support where I would want to buy. Now, it's not to say that we will see DOT move that low, but if we did, I'm certainly a buyer. Now, the alternative to that, all right, is if we see this market close above this trend line and then also start to carve higher highs and higher lows. That is going to be key for every market, because the only thing to reverse a downtrend, which is really just a series of lower highs and lower lows, the only thing to reverse that is the opposite. So higher highs and higher lows. So we would need to see this market break the trend line, come up here, take out $31 to $32, close above that, flip it to support, and then move up toward 38. Okay. So that's what we would need to see from DOT in the short term to negate the idea of a retest of $20. So until these things happen, until we see the market move above $31 and $38, then I'm going to keep at least some bids down here in the $20 region just in case. And last but not least is VET. Okay, so VeChain is something that I've talked about at length recently, and we do have this 2018 trend line that I'm still keeping an eye on, even though the market is starting to turn higher this week. So you can see where this trend line was a key factor during the bear market. Basically VET formed this rounded bottom down here, AKA inverse head and shoulders during the bear market. And right now this level comes in all the way down here around the 6-cent mark. Now, that's not to say that VET will drop that low, because there are additional support levels on the way down, one of which, and this is one scenario that I'm playing with right now, is, potentially the idea that VET has formed this triangle pattern here over really the entire year. Okay. So if that is the case, and we see VET stay above this area down here, right around 7 cents, maybe just above it, then, this could play out, and we could just see a market that consolidates this way here over the next few weeks, comes up, retests resistance, and then potentially we get a breakout in 2022. Now, if it doesn't, and Bitcoin does test that $40,000 to $42,000 area, then, it could very well put VET down toward this area right around 6 cents. Okay, so I'm not ruling that out yet. In the short term though, just talking about what VET would have to do to get above this consolidation down here, it would have to close above 8.8 cents. And this is what I talked about the other day. It would have to close above this area to flip it to support. All right. And the next key resistance level would be just above 10 cents. So right around 10.3. You can see how this has been a factor here over the past few months. All right. And above 10.3 is going to be the area that I talked about for months, just above 12 cents. So that's going to be the next key factor for VET. You can see it was resistance back here, and then support, and then resistance again. Okay, so short term, that's what I'm watching for from VET. But, like every other market, as long as Bitcoin is just moving sideways and below 53 to 54, I have to at least entertain the idea that VET could move lower, again, back down towards 7 cents and potentially down toward that 6 cent area. Okay, it's just a potential, but you have to plan for either scenario when markets are this sideways. All right, guys, so I hope that helped. Still very sideways market. We are seeing some strength here in the last 24 to 48 hours, but there's still a lot of work to do before these markets start to carve those higher highs and higher lows that are going to be necessary to take prices even higher. Okay, so really for Bitcoin, the area to watch is going to be 53 to 54. Get above that and we're in the clear, guys, at least up towards 60,000 or so. But as long as it's below 53 to 54, I do think that you have to stay a little bit cautious in these markets. And, as I said for VET, you kind of have to plan for multiple scenarios. So I hope that helped. I'll talk to you guys soon.